welcome back. We are making seashell purse today. What you'll need is your 2 felt pieces for your bag, your big pieces, the felt pieces to make up your seashell, your ribbon for your strap, some gems and pearls, your tailor's chalk, pins, fabric shears, and your fabric glue for later. And now we're going to go straight into sewing. What we are going to be doing first is we are going to be sewing on our stitching lines. Now, this is not going to be putting our bag together or anything. It's for decoration, and it kind of just shows the shape of the seashell. I already went ahead and traced out my guidelines to sew. You're going to be using tailor's chalk in your pattern to trace those lines to make sure you get those nice and even lines. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I already have mine traced, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and you're just going to sew right on these lines. Now, with these lines, you don't really need to do back stitches because they are just for decoration. They're not really for, but it does give it a little bit of, it does make it stay a little bit better if you do your back stitches. And we're going to sew on every single line. And you can always cut your threads at the end. Try not to go over your lines. You want to make sure that they're just touching the other line and not going past it. You will see all of these stitches, so you want to make sure they're nice and straight. And then once we're done sewing one of them, we can cut off all of our threads. Make sure you cut off all of them because you will see them. And you don't want your seashell to look hairy. Okay, so now that we've done one, we're going to do the exact same thing to the other. So what we're going to do now is we are going to measure out our strap. You want to make sure that it is long enough to reach the bottom of your hip, but you also don't want it so long that it goes past, because otherwise it's really annoying. When you guys cut your strap, make sure that you leave in a little bit of seam allowance so that way you can sew it into your seashell purse. You don't want it to be too short. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your strap, just push it around. If you have your mom or dad around to help you out, to measure it out, that works too, and then cut it if you need necessary. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our bag pieces together with our cut strap. What we'll do is we're going to put wrong sides together. So now the wrong side, you can tell, is from our chalk lines. When we traced earlier, we want those chalk lines to be on the inside of our bag. We don't want to see those. So we're going to make sure that we can find our chalk lines, and we're going to put those so that they're facing each other, so that those are on the inside. And then what you'll do is you'll take your strap, and we're going to go right where the scallop of the seashell, we're going to go to that second scallop right there, and we are going to place each end of our strap in about like an inch or so into it. So we're going to leave about an inch or a little bit less than an inch into our purse so that it's sandwiched in between, and we're going to pin those 3 layers together. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. You want to make sure that your strap isn't twisted or folded weird. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So once those 2 are pinned in, what we're going to do is we are going to pin the rest of our seashell. But we don't want to pin it all the way around. What we're going to do is we're going to go from that second scallop, and we're going to go down the seashell and around the base. We're going to leave that top bit open so we can get into it. Make sure you pin pointy side out as you follow the edge all the way around. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to be changing out my thread color. I have this light purple because you are going to see it. I did a light purple on purpose so that way you can see those definitions in the seashell. And I'm going to actually change it to match the bag. Now you don't have to do this. It's just another little design tip that you can do. Okay, so now that I have my machine thread with my dark purple, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sewing from the top of the second scallop down and around to the other side. And I'm going to sew this at edge of the presser foot. When you lay it in there, make sure that your strap is out of the way and is not going to be sewn into the bag other than what's already in there. Line it up, and then with these scallop parts, we want to make sure we pivot in those. So make sure your needle is down before you lift up that presser foot. So each little turn, we want to make sure we pivot. And you can go ahead and leave those pins in as you sew. Once you get to the end of that second scallop, I want you to make sure you backstitch, pull it out, and cut it. And then we'll take out all of our pins, cut off our threads. And now all of our sewing is done. We're going to move on to gluing our pieces. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to lay out our seashell pieces that are going to kind of create that illusion of a seashell. So what we'll do first is we'll kind of lay them out. We want them to be a little bit spaced so you can see that purple peeking through a little bit. Now, it doesn't matter what side of the seashell you choose. Pick your favorite side, whatever you think looks best. And what we'll do is we'll lay them out. Now, what you can do if you need to is my pieces are a little bit too big, so I'm just going to give them a little bit of a trim to make sure that I can see that little bit of purple peeking out through, because we don't want to lose the purple. So once you've laid it all out, what we're going to do is we're going to take our glue and we are going to put it on our swatch, and we are going to use a popsicle stick to glue our seashell blue pieces onto our main seashell. And then, now here's the thing, we want to make sure we glue just the edges, really. We want to make sure we glue just the edges. It's not really about the middle part, we just want to focus on those edges. And, or if you have mom or dad around, you can help you. You can use the glue bottle if you really need to, because it's a lot of pieces. But again, just make sure you focus just on those edges. And then also make sure as you're gluing it, you're keeping those purple spots in between still visible. We still want to be able to see those purple in between those blue, because it can get lost if they're a little too close together. And then also make sure to check after we're done gluing all these pieces that they're all glued down, because sometimes you think you got them all, but sometimes there's an edge here and there that are a little bit lifted. So like gently lift them to check to see if they're all glued down. Okay, so now that I have all of my blue pieces glued on, now I'm going to be adding in my gems and pearls. Now this is where you get to kind of like play around with it, however you want to do it. I always suggest laying it out first. Maybe you change your mind on the design. You can add like a bunch of them, you can add just a little bit. Always best to lay things out first. And a little trick with using gems and pearls, if you have a spot that you're not too proud of, you can always use them to cover them up a little bit. And then once you kind of have it laid out, you're going to glue those on. I'm going to use my popsicle stick for this one. It's a little bit easier to paint the back side and then place it onto the seashell. Now with these pearls, since they are balls, it is a good idea to put just a teeny bit more glue than you would on like the gems. That way they don't roll around. Now that we got all of our gems and pearls glued on, we are all done. So I hope you had as much fun as I did making this seashell purse. And tag us in all your photos if you post it online, and we'll see you next time.